Hey guys, Chris Fix here. Today I'm going to show you how to flush your power steering fluid. Power steering is what allows you to turn the steering wheel with one hand. If it's difficult to turn your steering wheel, or your pump is making a whining noise like this, or your fluid looks black or brown like this, it's time to change your power steering fluid. Depending on what fluid your vehicle takes, it should be amber, see-through, or a light pink or red. You want to check the owner's manual and see what kind of power steering fluid it takes. In my case, it takes Mercon automatic transmission fluid or M3. Yours might be different, so check your owner's manual. So you can see the difference in color between the two. One's brown, one's nice and red. This is the bad one, this is the good one. So let's start this flush. The power steering pump will have writing on it, either a giant steering wheel, or in this case it says steering fluid, and that's how you could find your power steering pump. There are a few different methods you could use to flush your power steering fluid. The method I'm about to show you gets the most old, dirty fluid out and gives you the best flush. If you want to see a faster method that still works well but doesn't flush the system thoroughly, click on the video on the screen and check out the link in the description below. So with the car jacked up and the wheels off the ground, we could easily turn the tires. Remember, we're not starting the car, so we won't have any power steering. Now we want to try to get as much power steering fluid out of this reservoir as we can. So I have a container, my turkey baster. Now that we got most of this fluid out, we're going to go turn the steering wheel and pump more fluid back into this reservoir. I'm just spinning the wheel from lock to lock to push the excess fluid into the power steering pump reservoir. So you can see more fluid got pumped into here, so we're going to suck more out now. You can see I got almost all the fluid that I could out, so it's not going to create a huge mess when I undo the return line at the bottom. Now we're going to go take the return line off and finish flushing. Now there's typically two lines that come from the power steering pump. One's a return line, which is low pressure, and one's a feeder line, which is high pressure. I mean, power steering pump works by providing hydraulic pressure, which makes it easier for you to steer. So because the return line is low pressure, it's gonna have these types of clamps on them. Low pressure clamps, like you could easily take them off. The high pressure line is right there. It's gonna have the crimped clamps so that the high pressure doesn't blow it right off. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to disconnect the low pressure line from here so I can bend this hose down into my little catch can, and then I'm gonna start turning the steering wheel from lock to lock. When you're about to disconnect the hose, get some paper towels and your catch can ready. I'm using a plastic bag and a rubber band to try to lessen the amount of fluid that I spill out. You might even want to get a small funnel to stick up in here. So now we'll take this clamp off. Take the hose off. It does get a little messy, so I have paper towels ready. I ended up using a funnel to get both the metal return line and the rubber return line to empty into the catch can at the same time. Otherwise, I was just making a big mess. Before this, a lot more fluid was being forced out, and I didn't realize the camera wasn't running, but hopefully you get the idea. After turning the steering wheel back and forth until you can't get any more fluid out, add fresh power steering fluid to the reservoir, and that'll force any of the extra old fluid out. Do this until the fluid coming out is fresh, clean fluid. And now it's running clean, so your flush is complete. Let's put everything back together. So right now the reservoir is filled and fluid is flowing out of the hose. With the fluid flowing out, I'm going to quickly connect the hose to the metal return line. This process will help bleed the system, and it's worth the extra mess you might make. Now you can see I did make a bit of a mess, but I got the new line back on. So you saw me with the funnel, and that was so I could put this hose and the end here in the same spot and have it both leak out, because they were both shooting out a lot of fluid. You're going to make a mess, so get the paper towels ready. After you attach the hose, get the clamp and clamp the hose. Okay, now we're going to fill it up. I'm putting 4 ounces of this power steering enhancer in. It helps quiet Ford power steering pumps, especially since this is a used one and it's old. I've used this before and it works really well. I have a review video on this, so if you want to see the review video, check the link in the description below. Now I'm going to take my automatic transmission fluid, which this car requires for a power steering pump, and pour it in. You can see where I filled it up to. Now I'm going to go and turn the steering wheel left and right and try to bleed this system of air. So I have to turn the steering wheel a few times. You can see the fluid level didn't really change too much. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this cap back on, take these paper towels out, and I'm going to turn the car over really quickly. Not a lot, I'm just going to shut it off right away. I just want that pump to spin and force fluid in. Just like that. The fluid level went down, but not a lot, so that means most of the air is out of the system. Also, I didn't hear any noises coming from the power steering pump, which means it's getting fluid, so I'll put the car back on the ground and start the engine. With the car on the ground, you're just going to inspect for any leaks. The only place it'll leak is where you took it off, right there. So look right there. And I guess you could also look over here because you did bend the hose a bit. And it looks good. This is from where I just dripped stuff. I'll have to clean all this up later. You can see it needs some more fluid, so I'm going to fill it up with some more fluid. You want to make sure this never runs dry. So now we're going to go for a quick drive and make sure everything's working good. If you hear any noises on this drive, make sure you stop and check the fluid level. Bring some extra power steering fluid just in case. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes. I'm heading back. No weird noises. Everything sounds really good. The steering feels great. Feels even better than before. It's quieter than before. Now let's go back and check the power steering fluid level. So the power steering will be hot now. Just clean this off with a paper towel. And we're going to be looking at the full hot side. So just push it back in all the way. Pull it out. And you can see it's filled up perfectly. Now I just want to show you guys one last thing. There's the fluid, nice and red. Look at that. That looks great. So that's a complete flush. Sounds great, and the steering feels a lot better. On the screen will be some videos popping up. You could click on the screen, or you could click on the links in the description for those videos. Hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, give it a thumbs up. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. I publish how-to videos weekly. If you have any questions or comments, comment below. I answer all my questions and comments. And finally, check out the Chris Fix Facebook and Twitter pages with the links in the description below.